Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to this midweek review with Mr. John. I am Mr. John, and we have been talking about the book of Ruth. But remember, we kind of talked about this could actually be the book of Boaz. We were introduced to this really nice, cool, compassionate guy named Boaz. If you remember, Naomi had lost all the male figures in her family, her husband, her two sons, and her lineage is gone. The carry on of her family name is gone, and she decides to move back to Bethlehem from Moab to just get away, to just kind of give up. And her daughter-in-law, Ruth, who is bound to Naomi, goes with her. Now, we heard last week that Naomi, they were to the point of probably getting very hungry, maybe even starving. And Naomi has Ruth go out to a field of a farm that Naomi knew the farmer, right? And Ruth goes out to glean. And remember, gleaning was hard work for women. It was to just pick up the grains after everybody else went through and harvested the field. They were just to pick up the little scraps that were left. And that's where we meet our man, Boaz. Boaz comes walking up and sees this strange gal, Ruth, in the field gleaning and does not recognize her. So he calls his guys over and asks, hey, who is that? The guys understand who it is. And they also tell Boaz how Ruth has really come beside Naomi, helping her, talking to her, just kind of helping her through this crisis. And it moves Boaz. So Boaz goes and calls Ruth over. Now, Boaz, by all rights, what she was doing was theft in those days. She didn't have permission to glean his fields and was picking up at the grain. He could have had her punished, thrown in jail, whatever they did back then. He could have had her really in trouble. But he absolutely is captivated by the compassion that Ruth has. And he comes up to her and sits there and says, hey, I have heard about you, Ruth, and I have heard all the great things you have done for Naomi. Hey, I tell you what, you can glean our fields, and more than that, I only want you to glean in our fields. Make sure that you get what you need to help you and Naomi. So that's kind of where we left off last week. And now she's able to glean the fields, and they're feeding Naomi. And I think Naomi is starting to come out of her, what I would call great sadness of all the loss she's had. And she is like really caring for Ruth. And so she sees kind of an opportunity because she knows that Boaz is in the family line of Elimelech. And Boaz is what is called a kinsman redeemer of the family, or a guardian redeemer. It depends on what version of the Bible you read. But this means that if there is somebody in the family, say like a Naomi and a Ruth, who lose the family, the kinsman redeemer has the right to go and take on that woman and marry him. And that what that does is to give that woman, still in the family line, lineage, a legacy, right? A legacy back then wasn't the stuff you give. It was actually more about the last name, right? Like my last name is Wolford. If my daughter gets married, her legacy, even though she is a Wolford family of mine, she takes on the name of the husband. And that's how it was. Now, I know today they can kind of do both. They can do whatever. But back then, they took on the family lineage of the name of the man, and then the family line came from him. So every son and daughter was through his line. So they didn't want to cut off the line. So what Naomi comes up with is something that is very weird in those days. And Boaz has to do something weird first, okay? Something that I don't think we would do today because we have video cameras that can record. We have like your ring on your house. When somebody comes to your door, if you have a ring on your house, you see exactly who it is. A video camera does that. Well, they couldn't watch, they didn't have that back then. So if somebody wanted to come and steal the grain from the storage bin, guess what? They just walked in. Nobody could tell you. They did it at night, and they would just walk off with whatever they wanted. Well, what would happen is the farmer or the rancher or the guy that worked that place, he would have different places. He would have different people sleep in those storage units with the grain, right? It sounds weird to hammock up into where the grain is and not at home in bed, but that's how they had to do it to protect their stuff. Well, Naomi comes up with a plan and tells Ruth, hey, while Boaz is sleeping, what you should do is get dressed up in your best dress and go and just be with Boaz at that point and sleep at his feet, just to be there with him and for him. This Naomi was actually trying to set up Ruth with Boaz in a way, right? She's trying to be matchmaker here. So Ruth does that. She gets all dolled up. She wears her best dress. Boaz is in his storage unit. She gets there at night. He's already asleep, right? He's laying there zonked out, snoring away, whatever. And she comes and lays down at his feet, and she proceeds to fall asleep. Well, a little bit later, something stirs and Boaz wakes up and he sees Naomi at his feet. And this again captivates Boaz. He is like, wow, this is cool. And so Boaz and Ruth get in conversation and they start talking about just the family stuff. And Ruth starts talking to Boaz about him being the guardian redeemer or the kinsman redeemer, and how that she is part of Naomi's family and that he has the right to marry her. What Ruth actually does in this position is really crazy. What I was saying earlier, Ruth has basically asked Boaz to marry her. Now, we see girls propose to guys all the time now, but back then, whoa, that was not the case. Women didn't do that. The men, usually marriages were arranged or the man proposed to the woman, right? Didn't happen the other way, but she doesn't come out and just ask him, right? She just kind of hints to it, but basically she has asked Boaz to marry her. And as the kinsman redeemer, he has the right to do it, but hang on. We're going to find out what happens next week after the but. So, guys, I hope you hang on. I don't mean to keep you in a cliffhanger, but the ending is so good. You got to hang around and listen up and check it out. So come back next week. We will have a great ending for this story. So come back, learn your verse. It's coming up next. Pop that into your brain, into your heart, and just live for Jesus. I hope you have a great week. Hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. Save a turkey leg for me. We'll talk to you later. Bye. The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves. Zephaniah 3:17.